So one of our biggest challenges is to not allow things to get to us.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes it feels like things around us are just bombarding us from every direction, and whichever way you turn, there's something new, and it's almost like we're under fire, and it feels like it could actually break us.
That's right. But it could also make us. So as the saying goes, it's make or break. But it's not as simple as that.
And that's why it is so important to delve deeply into self-management techniques. And starting, I think, so important with what we have been discussing, realizing your inner power and what comes through your sense of belonging. Because once we realize that, it then gives us that inner power and that strength and that faith and belief in ourselves to actually take charge and take steps to manage external circumstances and influences.
That's right. And when we use, I have mentioned this analogy a number of times, but I think it's so important because it enables us to put everything into perspective so easily. If we visualize ourselves driving along the road of life in our little vehicle, our little baptu, best understanding of power to operate, and realizing that within this little vehicle, we have the power to manage our controls. No one shares that vehicle with us, not a child that we've given birth to, or a partner or a parent. We are alone in our little baptu, and when we connect with others, we link up our baptus, but we are alone in our baptu. And how we master the controls and how we utilize the power that we have for our driving will determine how we get to our destinations, and it will also determine our life experience, our experience of the journey. When our focus is within that vehicle, we are utilizing our inner power. As soon as our focus extends beyond our vehicle to the areas where we have no control, and we start to fret about the condition of the road or the way other people are driving, or whatever the case may be, our focus is in the wrong place. Yes, we do need to be aware of what is happening externally, because that will determine how we choose to drive our vehicle. So we drive our vehicle according to the circumstances that surround us, realizing that we have no control over those circumstances that surround us, but we do have control of our vehicle. And by maintaining that focus within our vehicle and maintaining that awareness of our power to drive as we choose, that is really what empowers us. And the first few sessions that we've had have been to do with this awareness, and how having this awareness enables us to have a good sense of belonging. That first bridge that we cross as we go through the process of empowerment, as we develop ourselves, our first bridge that we experience is that bridge of belonging, which is our self-awareness. And once we have a good self-awareness, we can then look at the next bridge, which is our bridge of resourcefulness. And resourcefulness is what enables us to deal with the challenges, the external challenges. We have an abundance of resourcefulness within us, but we just don't utilize it.
Exactly, because we don't see it. It's almost like looking in the mirror. Now, we look in the mirror and we see our reflection, and the majority of us look, and no matter what we look like, we'll see the negative. So we'll see the bags under our eyes, or we'll see the wrinkles, or we'll see the huge big pimple. And even if we do look in the mirror and think, wow, today's actually a good day, I'm looking quite good today, we still see what we see. We see our reflection. And that limits us, because potential is something that you can't see. So when you look in the mirror, you can't see your potential.
That's right. It's invisible. And when we look in the mirror, we see ourselves as others see us, and we don't recognize our true selves. There's so much more to us than what we see physically. And we, when we think of potential or resourcefulness, potential is a feeling, it's an awareness. And for every one of us, and I've discussed this with so many people over the years, and everybody agrees that when you sit quietly and you center yourself and you go within, you realize that there is so much more to who you are. We are so much more than what we realize. When we sit in a business meeting, for example, we know that there is so much that we can contribute to that meeting. We can make so many suggestions. We've got so many ideas. A lot of the time we just keep quiet because we think, oh, just do what you have to do and carry on and, do the basics. And in our home and in our interests, exploring our talents, we all know that there's so much more that we are capable of. There's so much more that we'd like to explore just for the fun side of life, or in hobbies, or realizing whether it's physically or mentally how much more we are capable of. But because of the humdrum of life, because we are stuck in that comfort zone, we tend to do what we need to do to get by. And this is what restricts us and prevents us from exploring that amazing potential that we have. Often what we do is we think, okay, one day I will. One day when I'm not so busy, I'll get round to exploring that potential or sharing some of my ideas with the world, or whatever the case may be. And there are so many people I've chatted to as well, in the latter years of their lives. And as people get older, it's a very common statement where people say, gee, if only I had my life to live over, I would handle it so differently. And it's not always about the accomplishments. It's not what I could have accomplished. It's what I could have experienced. I know that I had the potential, the capability, the resourcefulness within me to experience so much more. And I just kept putting it off because I wanted to be fulfilled. We all want a fulfilling life. And I thought it would happen one day, but it just didn't. And now I'm getting to the end of my life and I didn't ever really experience that fulfillment that was potentially there.
And was there. But what happens is it's almost as though we are living in a room. Right? We are in this room. And it's okay. It's not an amazing room. It's a bit dark. The windows are very dirty. We can't see out of it, but we survive in it. We do what we need to do, and we're familiar with it, and we just carry on. And we live our lives in this room, and it's okay. And then suddenly what happens is one day somebody, or we go and we get some water and we decide to clean the windows, and we look through the windows to the outside and we see there's so much outside. There's this beautiful garden and all these paths and fountains and people laughing and happy and enjoying their lives. And we look and we think, wow, I could actually be part of that. I've been in this dark room existing. I know the room really well, and it's had what I've needed, and I've done what I've needed to do. It's been okay, but it hasn't been what I've wanted. And all I need to do is just open the door and I can go enjoy that amazing outside world. And it's the same thing. My potential is there for me. But it's a case of me just not actually, like you say, getting caught in that humdrum.
That's right. And not choosing to explore it. And when you say that wonderful world outside, of course, we aren't being idealistic in the sense of saying, okay, that's the perfect world out there. Because wherever we go, there will be trials and tribulations. But when we realize that we can step into something new, and we can have that experience and handle whatever comes our way because of our resourcefulness. And when we think of resourcefulness, we have amazing inner resourcefulness. I've chatted to a few people that have often described how they used their creativity when they were thrown into something in the deep end. And they said, I had no choice but to explore my creativity. It was something I've never done before, and I surprised myself. I actually surprised myself in what I accomplished. And that goes for the challenges that we experience in life, the problems that we are facing. There are an infinite number of solutions, but we are often so limited to the solutions that are within our reality that we say, well, I've explored every avenue. And as you've explained now with this room, there are a limited number of avenues within that room. And when we are looking within the confines of the room, of course we are limited in the resources that are available to us. But your analogy of stepping outside is really saying, I'm going to explore the infinite possibilities that are outside, that are beyond my current reality. And as I explore those, of course, I'm going to have my ups and downs, and I'm going to experience challenges. It's not always going to be perfect, but I'm going to give myself a new life experience. And this is a choice that we have to make, because we can choose to stay within the humdrum, within the confines of our reality, and tell ourselves that this is all it is. Or we can make that active decision to go beyond those parameters, to start to explore what is beyond, and not to say I will do it one day. It's to say I'm starting from this moment, and I'm now exploring that abundance of potential within me. I'm not going to live in fear. It's often fear that prevents us from exploring this potential, but I'm going to explore my potential. I'm going to look at those resources within me and how I can utilize them. And I'm also going to explore the resources externally that are available for me to use. And that is what then takes me to another level of life experience.
Exactly. 100%.